So this is the Samsung Galaxy A56, and today we're going to face off against the iPhone 16e in a speed test. So what is up guys, Nick here helping you to master your technology, and let's go ahead and begin this video with a boot up test. And if you haven't already, let's go ahead and consider hitting that subscribe button down below to get more videos like this. I do cover speed tests, comparisons, reviews, some of the latest phones in the game, and I'd love to have you around for some future vids. The Galaxy A56 does have a mid-range CPU, so this is probably going to win in a few areas for the 16e, but because the 16e is kind of still targeting similar people who want a cheaper phone, that's why I wanted to make this video here. But you've seen with the iPhone 16e, it did turn on faster than the Galaxy A56, although the boot up test is not a massive thing to most people. You can see the massive difference in size though of A56 versus iPhone 16e. So let me know which one you think just on first impressions looks better or worse down below in the comments. And when it comes to unlocking these phones, the Galaxy A56 does it from a fingerprint sensor down here. As you can see, it is acting a little weird right there. So the Galaxy A56 just turned on, and I'm going to leave that in the video because I actually like to discuss this, how with this phone, when you first turn it on from a cold boot, things are a little bit slow. So you've seen right there, it missed. And also I want to leave that in there too to show you that while you can unlock this with the screen off, this does take a little bit of a longer hold than like a S series. And the fingerprint can be a little bit more wonky. I do miss more on this phone than the S series, I'm going to be totally honest. And also, I did want to mention one more thing. With the fingerprint sensor on here, it actually gets worse if you put a screen protector. So I don't recommend one if you want a very good fingerprint experience. But after this phone gets warmed up, you figure out where it's at, then it tends to work very well. So it's usually just on that cold boot I get a lot of these little issues. But other than that, it's pretty good. Just not Galaxy S good, so do keep that in mind. Now, the iPhone 16e, on the other hand, does have basically similar Face ID to the top of the line phones, but it has that really older looking notch up there, which never was a fan favorite to begin with. I think Touch ID had more success in terms of pleasing the audience, but definitely it works really well, and I would say it's more reliable than the Galaxy A56's fingerprint sensor, but not technically faster because it takes two methods to get in. So you have to swipe. So with this one, I don't even have to look. If I know where it's at, I can just get into the phone. So technically this is a speedier experience. You can also use the camera on this phone for a face unlock if you'd like. All right, generally speaking, the Galaxy A56 actually feels a little bit faster to navigate through the UI just because it gives you the adaptive refresh rate display. This is proof that Apple needs to bring promotion even down to the more simple phones. I mean, this phone cost me under $400, and this device actually feels smoother day to day with its adaptive refresh than this phone over here. I will say that it's a little choppier in terms of overall performance because it has a lesser CPU, but definitely just the pure navigating the UI, the 120 Hz scrolling feels much nicer than the 16e. So everything is closed off for both devices here. Let's go ahead and go into calendars here on both, and you've seen that was faster on the right. We'll go into clock, and I believe that one I actually didn't see. I think it was the iPhone. I could be wrong. Let's go into timers. We'll go into stopwatch, world clock, swipe out. So animation's good on both. We'll go into calculator. That was faster for the A56. We'll go into Instagram, and that was actually quicker on the A56 as well. I had a little pop-up, but it was quicker. When you're in here, everything pretty good. And this is what the A56 does really well. It does just daily usage stuff very well, so we don't really have an issue with casual apps. Let's go into news. And that was faster for the A56 as it was loading on the right. These are definitely different news apps, so they're not directly comparable, but they're their respective competitors. So Samsung News, Apple News. So let's go ahead and swipe up out of here. We'll go into Play Store, App Store, and Play Store was far quicker on the left. We'll go over here and faster on the left. You also do get yourself a bigger screen, as you can see. So A lot of value there to be had in a premium build on the Galaxy A56. Let's go over here to profile. Although, as we scroll in here, you'll see besides the refresh difference, both of them doing a very good job. We'll swipe up out of there. One thing I do like is that they both do have really good overall performance, even though they're not like top tier phones. They both do pretty good in this department. So let's head up into Amazon here and see what happens. And I think that was the 16E. Let's go into YouTube. And we're going to go to trending here just to keep things fair. Let's go to trending here. Trending. And you're seeing the A56 rock. That's because it does have a camera bump on the left. One of the nice things about the 16E is it doesn't rock too much, just a little bit up there, but not too much. Let's go into Groupon, but you do get a triple camera on the, and that was faster on the left. But this phone was showing a pop-up. But the A56 does have ultra wide. It does have 10 times zoom. This one still gives you 10 times zoom even on a single camera, but you just don't get the ultra wide for the iPhone 16E. Let's go into Dead Trigger 2 and see which one can get there first. Now, I did do some gaming yesterday for my A56, and I gotta say that I wasn't overly impressed. It started to get a little bit warm, and I kept getting rocked in the game, like losing in Call of Duty. So, and I think it's because of the performance, because I never really lose, like in the, well, I've lost before, but I don't really lose too much in my higher end phones. I think that's because I have the faster chip. I started losing really bad on this phone. I think it's because of the lag or something. I don't know. Let's go over here, and you'll see that was faster for the right over here for the iPhone 16E. Swipe up out of here, and we'll go into Brawl Stars for both. And Brawl Stars in the lead for the 16E, so showing its flagship muscle now. When I say that for the 16E, I'm talking about the processor. It does have a flagship processor. But it seems like nobody really cares, based on the comments of what I've been seeing, about the fact that the 16E has a flagship processor, because everyone is coming at it for its older look. And it makes sense, because when you look at things like this, you look at things like the OnePlus 13R, the Poco F7 Ultra, all these phones that are out now, these mid-rangers, they're just really a different deal versus this one over here. Let's go into Call of Duty. It reminds me a lot of back in the day when Android phones were like big and had all these great features, and then Apple kept releasing these small like 5S phones and stuff like that. This is kind of like happening again, but you can't really get away with it the same in 2025 just due to the fact that we're way more mature and advanced, so in the smartphone game. So like it hits different now, like not in a good way for the 16E. So you've seen that we got into the game first here for this phone. We are initializing and downloading resources here, so that could be related. That's more than likely why. But the A56 did a good job. When I actually do play the game again, I wasn't having too much issues playing Call of Duty yesterday. I was just getting destroyed. Usually I don't get destroyed with my S25 Ultra. I think it's because there's a little bit of a delay in performance on this phone. And here comes I'm actually, you know what? I'm going to redo this one because I do believe that resource downloading is messing this up. All right, so let me go ahead and close these two out right here, and we'll just do Call of Duty again and see what happens. This one now has it downloaded. Let me go and give these two phones a quick wipe here, and you'll see. Should be a big different story, and if it is, it's more than likely because yep. So you see, the 16E is actually quicker. That first initial round was simply because of the resources downloading, but the A56 was not far behind. Although in no way, shape, and form is the A56 a dedicated gaming phone. It's actually one of the furthest things from that. The A56 is more of a budget casual phone that can game if you want it to, but probably better served to do casual games, if I'm being totally honest. It does have an Eclipse GPU, nothing crazy. It's not an Adreno version. It also has an Exynos 1580, and Free Fire was actually faster for the iPhone as well. We're gonna head over here to the lobby. It was actually faster on the iPhone as well. So you want a game. This is tough because you get this smaller screen on the right, but I have to be real. For performance-wise, it's the 16E. I missed that one totally on the on the iPhone. Let's do that again. It's the 16E for sure. Let's go into 3D Mark. It's a 16E here, and we'll go into Geekbench. That's the A56 by a long shot. Swipe up out of here. We'll go into speed test. All right, so I clicked that one, and that's literally totally missed my finger. So we'll just click that open a little bit, and we'll go into speed test net. That was faster for the right, and we'll go into LumaFusion, and that was faster on the left. So A56 held its own, I would say. You know, it won some apps, it lost some. It mostly lost in the gaming department and a couple apps here and there. So again, going to be dependent on the app, but the A56 did pretty well, I would say, in the speed test overall. So let's go ahead and move on to the RAM management section now. All right, so we're going to start here with LumaFusion. We'll go to speed test net, Geekbench 6. This is 8 gigabytes of RAM. This is not even Samsung's 12 gig of RAM version. Looked like Call of Duty blinked a little bit. That one blinked. This always reloads the Brawl Stars. Let's go into Subway Surfers. A little bit of a blinking effect here, but it's holding these pretty well. You can see Groupon is open. YouTube reloading its feed. A little bit of a blinking there. That's where I was. I don't like this blinking stuff going on, but at least it has a lot of this stuff. That's a reload. At least it has some of this stuff open. But this is not the department for the A56's best performance. It really isn't. This is more of just a casual phone, open a few apps here and there, get on with your day with your beautiful screen. You can go ahead and watch a nice large piece of content on here, read some content, nice large display. But that's not really where it shines amazingly well. Let's see how the 16E does with its 8 gigabytes of RAM. iPhone continuing to show really nice performance when pausing and holding these apps in the background. You'll see pretty decent. I don't like how this refresh rate looks. It looks a little choppy because I'm used to the other iPhones, but it's holding these a little nicer than the iPhone or than the A56. So I think in this department, the iPhone 16e actually won. So when looking at their Wildlife Extreme scores, I think it's kind of telling me why I was having a little bit of issues with Call of Duty yesterday. You could see 7.33 FPS with an average score of 1224. That is horrible by comparison to the 16e at 3436, 20 FPS, so 3 times better in the GPU. And also scoring better than 71% of devices. While that's average, it's not better than anywhere near flagship. This one is at the bottom. So not the bottom of the market, but definitely the bottom compared to these two. This is 50% faster in gaming. That is huge. And it's not 50% more. It's about $200 more. But still, 50% more would be about $800. But still, it's 50% faster. But you're giving up 50% display, so there's always like this little sacrifice, you know, like you're getting 50% better gaming performance, but the size is like 50% smaller. The refresh is 50% less. It's 60 hertz. That's 120 hertz. You get 3 cameras, 1 camera. So you got to pick and choose what matters to you the most. That's the only issue I have with like these lower tier phones, is that there's always something you're sacrificing. That's why I like phones like the OnePlus 13R. These phones that offer way more, like these flagship killer-like phones, really offer more for the money. And here are our final Geekbench 6 scores, and you could see that the iPhone 16e actually has the same single core nearly as the multi-core on the Galaxy A56. Well, not quite. It's a little bit higher for the A56, but you can see the multi-core is 8036 on the right, so nearly doubling that. Again, just like with our 3D Mark test, we are basically at double the performance here on Geekbench 6, which tends to always win on iPhones, but that's not our best score on the A56. Again, the benchmarks don't tell us the full story. Let's go ahead and take a look at our quick Wi-Fi speed test over here. We'll start on this side with the iPhone 16e. And we'll see if the A56, the contender here of the on the left, will beat it down. We'll see. This is going around 300 down on the download. But really, it's not always the benchmarks that matter. You know, you are getting a lot of value here. You kind of know going into the A56 what you're getting. You know you're not getting the best CPU. But where I think that's going to harm the buyer is if you want to keep this phone more than like 2 years. So if you go 2-3 years down the line, the A56 might be a little bit slow for you. So if you are looking for a longer haul experience, I definitely recommend not buying one of these lower tiered Samsungs. I would recommend buying a Snapdragon version of an 8 Gen 3 budget phone, something like that, if you could find one. You'll see 358 on the download actually did better. I'm not surprised here. It's also doing better on upload. Reason I'm not is because Samsung tends to do better here in my experience on these Wi-Fi and mobile network performance tests. So it did better than the 16E there. 16E does have an Apple C1 modem. Let's go ahead and wrap this up with a camera launch test, and we'll do some shutter speed as well. So I'll take the Galaxy A56. I like how thin the A56 is for its size. Let's go ahead and click camera, and that was faster on the right. And we'll do it again. So let's see if that was just the initial launch. 3, 2, go. Nope, the iPhone is faster. If we take a photo, I think the shutter is slightly quicker on the 16E as well. So the camera experience is quicker for the 16E. So wrapping it up, I would say the 16E is the winner of the speed test. But is it the winner of the value? I don't think so. I think the A56 is better value for money, but definitely not faster. So if you're looking for a longer term experience for just pure speed alone performance, the 16E is going to take the W here. But again, I'm not saying it takes a W as the phone. I'm not a big fan of its design. It looks dated, antiquated. And at first I was like, okay, it's nice and minimal, but I'm kind of like using it for a few days. I'm like, oh, I just bought another 14. But I bought it to review it for you guys as well. So thumbs up if you enjoyed the video. Subscribe for more. We're going to compare the A56 against some other phones, including the A55, A54, Nothing Phone 3A. So I'd love to see you in those videos as well. I'll catch you on the next one. Have a great weekend. Nick here. Be sure to be well, and peace.